All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Kristen Caruso. I am with the Noble Public Schools Foundation, and we would like to welcome you to our 2024 Republican Primary Election Forum for Senate District 15. Before we begin, I want to go over a couple of ground rules that will help us move through as many questions as possible. Tonight, all questions have been submitted by constituents of Senate District 15. We will address as many questions as possible, but we understand that there may be additional things that you would like to discuss with the candidates that we don't cover on the stage here tonight. Candidates are available at tables in between or after this portion of the forum. If you would like to stop, I encourage you to ask those questions and have those discussions with them after the forum. Each candidate is going to be given 60 seconds for an opening statement and then as a response to each question. In an effort to move through as many of your questions as possible, we are going to be pretty strict on those time limits. When the timer goes off, we'll give you all an opportunity to finish your thought, but then we're going to have to move on. In an effort to be fair to all candidates and address as many questions as possible, I really am going to be strict about that time limit. So please don't be offended if I have to ask you to finish your thoughts so we can move on. It's just in the interest of time. We are here tonight to get to know you all, the candidates for Senate District 15. To that end, we're going to respectfully ask that all candidates refrain from addressing fellow candidates, any type of negative speech, or commenting what they think someone else is going to say or may do. We want to know your thoughts and your opinions on the issues that are important to your constituents. So please use your time wisely because once again, you only have 60 seconds. This forum is being recorded and will be available on our website in coming days. It will be posted to YouTube, then put through our website, and you are free to share that on your personal pages on your websites. You will have to link through the Noble Public Schools Foundation to do so. We are going to start on the end with Mr. Harrell and move down the table. So you have 60 seconds. Please introduce yourself to the voters for Senate District 15.
Hello. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming out and being a part of this forum. My name is Tommy Harrell. I'm from Norman, Oklahoma, originally from Purcell, Oklahoma. I am 15 plus years in the oil and gas industry. I've got a 4-year-old little girl named Harper and a wonderful wife named Shauna. And we are just so happy to be in Oklahoma where conservative is the roots, and I look forward to visiting with everybody. Some of the important things that we'll talk about are important to me, and I look forward to visiting.
All right, Mr. Keys.
I'm Robert Keys. I'm grateful to be here. I'm always the outlier at these. You can hear me anyway, right? But I'm always the outlier at these particular type of meetings in the aspect I've never wanted to run for politics. I've ran away from it. However, with what's going on at the Capitol and what's happening on the local and national basis, I've decided to do a little change in my life. I've made a lot of money. I've built a big business. I've been here in Cleveland County in Norman since 1983 in the water well and the oil and gas business. I've worked almost every sector of the oil and gas industry itself, from upstream, midstream, downstream, and still currently have crews working in that industry. But education is the top of my list, and so much so, I've been the one candidate that's been out talking to school teachers, to superintendents. I'm digging and talking to parents. I want to know what's happening. I want to be part of what makes sure that our children have a bright future in Oklahoma. Thank you.
Good evening. Same thing. Good evening. My name is Captain Kelly Lynn. Currently, I'm a municipal judge in a couple different cities here in Oklahoma, which also means I'm an attorney. None of us are perfect, so please don't hold that against me. Previously, before that, I was a captain in the Oklahoma National Guard for many years. I was a senior instructor for the Officer Candidate School, commissioning our future leaders here in Oklahoma and working with states around the nation to do the same. I'm also a veteran of Afghanistan, 100% disabled from that trip. No cool guy story to go along with it. Just got beat up along the way, and they said, thank you for your service. But for this job, what is important politically, if you can remember back in 2020 when the craziness happened in Norman where they defunded the police, I'm the guy that led the charge at the tip of the spear, and we got rid of 8 or 9 of those jokers that made that vote. We got all that police funding back and all those positions back, and if that is the type of leadership that you would like to have serving you up at the Capitol, I'd appreciate your consideration June 18th.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Brandon Nofire, and I am also a candidate for Senate District 15. I was born and raised in eastern Oklahoma, native Oklahoma in both senses of the word. Graduated high school in Muldrow, and then immediately joined the Marine Corps. Felt called to serve even then. After the Marine Corps, I got out, went to OU, and where I played football, broke my arm. That ended any hopes of going past that. And from that point on, I have been in aerospace and defense, including my time in the Marine Corps, for 20 years now. So I bring that to the table. Personal life, I have a wife, lovely wife, and one child, a very precocious 2-year-old toddler. And love both of them, and that's about it.
Hello, my name is Lisa Standridge, and I come to you tonight as a full circle moment for me, not only as a candidate to represent you in our Senate, but as a representation, 100% product of Noble Public Schools. I entered kindergarten and Noble Catherine I. Daly Elementary, and I graduated as salutatorian of my class. Not only did I graduate from Noble, but both of my siblings, as well as my parents, graduated from Noble. I have a large place in my heart for Noble. I know why Catherine I. Daly Elementary is named for her, because she was my elementary school principal. And she greeted me every morning, hello, Miss Eidelman. She watched me eat my lunch in the cafeteria. Are you gonna finish your lunch today, Miss Eidelman? And she inspired me to be a better student. She knew my name. And I say all this to tell you that because I've lived here, I was raised here, I moved all the way to Norman, I've lived here my entire life. What happens in this area matters to me. And with your help, you can send me to the Capitol to keep Noble first and foremost. Thank you.
All right, our questions tonight are going to be asked by your constituents. So our first question.
My name is Aisha Prather. I'm a constituent in the district. So my question has multiple parts here, so listen carefully. You are running for the state Senate. What do you understand to be the responsibilities of this position? Have you visited the incumbent at the Capitol? And have you watched the proceedings of the chamber from the gallery?
Could you repeat that question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
So, you are running for the state Senate. What do you understand to be the responsibilities of the position? Have you visited the incumbent at the Capitol? And have you watched the proceedings of the chamber from the gallery?
Who goes first?
All right, Mr. Keys, we'll start with you and move down the table.
Yes, I have talked with the incumbent. I've actually had a few meetings with Rob Standridge and Lisa before she chose to run. I have done many things in the chamber. I've actually spoke, probably the only candidate that has actually spoke at an interim study at the Capitol. And what was the third part of the question?
Have you watched the proceedings from the chamber from the gallery?
I have been in the gallery so many times. I'm amazed I don't have vertigo from it.
Going this way? Real quick, I have not watched from the gallery here. I have been to our Capitol and watched from that gallery. I have watched, I have been up there several times. I was recently just up at the Capitol where we had a talk about DHS. As for the incumbent, I've become very familiar with Senator Rob Standridge. He has actually endorsed me twice when I ran for city council in the past, and he also was an intern at my law office. And as an intern, we got some pretty good stuff done up at the Capitol, including one of the bills that kept OU from enacting transgender stuff against our youth here in Oklahoma, becoming one of the most significant laws passed in the nation. Let me see, from the gallery, the incumbent, and the job up there, actually the job of the Senate is to actually represent the interests of the state, while the part of the representative is to represent the people.
All right.
So to answer your question, the responsibilities of the seat of senator would be to protect the interests of my constituents, plain and simple, to look out for them in every sense and shape that I can and help them out in any way possible. As far as visiting the incumbent, I have visited with Senator Standridge on multiple occasions, usually dealing with the turnpike, if I'm being quite honest. Been up there quite a bit, and not only him, but I don't think there's a single representative or senator that I haven't visited with over that. And then as far as watching from the galleries, I go up there about every session for the last couple of years now, ever since the turnpike was announced to come through here. I have been up there at least one day a week to see my handiwork effectively and see how well we're doing. And to that end, I've managed to help get 2 bills passed into law directly dealing with that.
All right.
The responsibilities of a senator are to maintain checks and balances, to make sure that our taxpayer money is used effectively. It's one to protect those in our state, to protect our state. It's also a position to advocate for those. I have been at the Capitol many, many times. I've watched the proceedings from the gallery. I also watch it online at my home on oksenate.gov. I am married to the incumbent. His name is Rob Standridge. I'm very proud of what he's done. He is a conservative hero. I want to see his good works continue. And thank you.
All right.
Just as much like Lisa said, it's about, as a senator, it's about checks and balances. It's about maintaining conservative values, maintaining passing good laws, listening to your constituents. As for me, my background, my first 5 years out of college, I worked directly on energy policy, worked for the Oklahoma Interstate Oil and Gas Compact Commission, and then worked for the Oklahoma Independent Petroleum Association. So I spent many years at the Capitol working on behalf of the oil and gas industry. And then after leaving and going to the private side, I still maintained a lot of presence at the Capitol. I maintained we had good laws passed. So my experience is very solid up there, and I understand the process and the procedures and how to maneuver at the Capitol as we go up there. So, thank you.
Okay. All right. Our second question.
Phil Freeman, Mayor of Noble. My question has to do with, I'm sure you all understand that Oklahoma is the only state in the United States where cities do not get ad valorem tax income or revenue, which means that we are solely dependent as small towns and small cities on sales tax revenue. It's an uphill battle that we face every day, trying to recruit, entice, and encourage and build up businesses that would bring in sales tax to help us to better our city. If you were elected, what solutions would you try to work towards to help our cities such as mine and ours here to overcome this large hurdle that we have in our state, being solely dependent on sales tax?
All right,
Well,
Mr. Lynn, we'll begin with you.
Well, I would take a look at this. I have a whole different idea on how we should do taxes anyways. You're doing sales tax now. And that's great. We do sales tax. That's all you get. We have property tax. I hate the idea of property tax because how can you not ever own something? You have your home, you're going to have to pay property tax on that, or the government takes away till the day you die. If we were smart, we would go to a taxation system of a consumption tax. That way, any illegal dollar made that has ever spent will be captured and taxed. Anybody that was made money from criminal ways, when they spend money, it will be captured and taxed. That way, you can actually own your home. If we did a consumption tax, we would bring in so much more money that could be spread out and relieve some of the taxes from the people that are always paying it, and then everybody would have some skin in the game. Not to be crude, but if you had a prostitute that was earning that money, when she goes to Walmart, that unearned money would then become taxed, and everybody has some skin in the game at that point.
I think we could help out these small towns by increasing the amount of businesses that come to Oklahoma. And in the last couple of years, we've lost out on several gigantic businesses, actually. I'm sure you all remember Tesla and Panasonic. And if you listen to what they say, there's a couple of reasons that they won't come here. And namely, the workforce verbatim isn't educated enough to sustain their businesses, and then also the infrastructure isn't there to support them. And so what we can do is invest in both of those things, especially the infrastructure, to get these towns to grow. And I'm not talking just, everybody thinks of roads whenever they say infrastructure, but it's more than that. It's the electrical grid, it's water supplies, it is high-speed internet at this point. If you have internet, you can work anywhere, and it's almost required at this point to have a job. You can't even apply to McDonald's anymore without going online. So that's what I would do.
I think the way to get more businesses into communities is to go on a path to zero income tax, and you reward the taxpayers. You have happy employees. Oklahoma has a wonderful work ethic. We have trained, good employees ready to work. We have a low cost of living. It makes sense for businesses to come here. We need to reward those businesses that are already here, or small businesses. That's the bread and butter of Oklahoma. And the way you attract good businesses, profitable businesses, is with good employees. And that's exactly what we have. So you reward those people. We get on a path to zero income tax. They've got more jingle in their pocket. They're going to be happy. They're going to want to work. Simple as that.
Well, this is where I'm good at, building businesses. So I see Noble at a turning point. With Norman growing, the shift that Noble has as far as an opportunity to grow is unbelievable. We have a lot of land space. There's a lot of opportunities with the employees here. I see a lot of manufacturing opportunities that we can drive. I'm different from some of the other candidates. I'm for tax incentives. I think tax incentives for businesses are good if it's good businesses that are going to grow jobs. So I'm all for tax incentives. Now, I think it's ought to be distributed to a lot of companies already here. You know, how do we take that and grow our businesses that are here? The thin lines, the manufacturing, the David Riley's, that tire plants. How do we grow their businesses more? And I think providing some tax incentives for those of them to do that would be great. There's a unique opportunity with a rail spur potentially here in Noble that you could put in with all the construction that's going on in Norman. You could put in a rail spur that would bring in new manufacturing jobs and could grow Norman and Noble phenomenally.
Okay, thank you. Great.
I'll get it right. I'm going to address you directly because we're all talking about great things here in the aspect that we're not addressing exactly what you asked. If I heard you right, you said we're the only state in the union that does not receive ad valorem tax, and you rely solely upon sales tax. So no matter what we do, according to what I understand you say, no matter how much we grow, we still do not get that other support that other cities throughout the nation. And we need to sit and dissect that And I'm going to tell you, brother, I'm a specialist at that right there, of finding the way to put the money where it needs to be. And I'm willing to look at that. I've built a multi-million-dollar business. Most of them have been from failed companies that they couldn't figure it out. I brought my team in and we figured it out. And we would sit with you and we'd sit with the other cities of Oklahoma and figure out where the real problem is and not throw these Band-Aid ideas that are pipe dreams that are 20, 30 years down the road. We'll help you fix it now.
All right, our next question.
Frank Solomon, Superintendent, Noble Schools. Senate District 15 represents Moore, Norman, Noble, Lilacs. These school communities are very different from each other, but all deserve the same level of representation from your office if elected. Have you proactively reached out to the superintendents and school leaders in Senate District 15? If not, how come? And if you have, what have you learned?
I believe I'm first on this. I haven't reached out to the actual superintendents, but I have talked to a lot of teachers, and I mean a lot of them. And they all have very similar concerns, especially what's going on today up at the Capitol, tying accreditation to test scores. And that is not the way to go on that. Whenever you have a problem, you don't just shut it down, because that draws a lot of other problems. Logistics problems, such as where are these kids going to go? They still have to go to school. And so you have to find some other way to help these communities and not just stop everything whenever they're not going the way that you think they should go. And then further along those lines, we have a real problem in education at all school levels where our teachers aren't paid enough, plain and simple. I've got a lot of friends that I went to OU with who can't come home. They work out of state. They've all went to border states, and they cannot come home because they can't afford the pay cut. So we have to address that to help the schools out before we do anything else.
All right, well, thank you for that question. That is a very important one. I have not reached out, and largely because school is just out, and I figure they were busy. But I have talked to a lot of parents at the doorstep, and they do have concerns about their child's education. I am a parent of school-age children, and their education is everything to me. Education is definitely on the forefront of my intention of being your state senator. So I look forward to reaching out to you and speaking with you soon.
Well, I'm gonna have to get on to Aunt Meg Crosley, because she's been trying to set up a time for me to meet with you for a while. So I'm gonna have to get on to her. I have met with some of the other principals, and I've met with Nick and Norman. I look forward to visiting with you and all the schools and all the teachers as we go forward. If elected, I would love to have a common time that we meet once a quarter or once a month and circle up with all the superintendents, teachers, students even, and have some sort of town hall that we could all sit in a room and voice concerns of things we need and different programs that you guys are working on that I can go back and sell the state on. So I look forward to visiting with you more about that.
I'll direct my remarks directly to you as well, Superintendent. I learned a long time ago that if you're going to get to the bottom of something, you need to get in the trenches. And as you well know, I've already met with you, I've met with others. I've actually sat down with superintendents, I've asked for copies of their budgets, I've asked them what's broken. And I'm going to tell you, you said, what did I discover? I discovered a lot of things, and we don't have enough time, but I'm going to tell you one thing I did discover. The state of Oklahoma is doing an injustice to our administrators in the public school just with insurance. If we took that off your plate, we could save the state of Oklahoma over $200 million that can go into public education. I plan on making those kind of things happen for you. You can count on that.
Well, I will tell you, I live there in Norman, and my kids do not go to Norman schools. I have a proud graduate of Noble here, Callie Lynn, in 2021 after they went crazy. And I'm telling you, the pandemic was one of the best things that happened to expose some of the schools and to expose some of the good schools, because we have Noble. We have places like Robin Hill where my daughter goes, and it's almost the ideal school to me. Small class sizes, very hands-on. We need to make sure that we hang on to our smaller rural schools and independent schools and make sure that they have the funding that they need. And part of that, and I'm sorry you're a superintendent, but when you go to Norman and the superintendent makes more than the President of the United States, we might need to start there. And see, I'm sorry, Mr. Solomon, I'm not trying to knock you in your position, right? But my gosh, making $450,000 a year might be part of the problem when we need funding somewhere else. And I'm not sure that being the superintendent of Norman Public Schools is more challenging than being the President of the United States. We might need to take a look at those types of things.
All right, our next question.
Hello, I'm Matt Whitehead. What do you think the role of the modern public library is, and are they fulfilling that role to your satisfaction? If not, what would you change?
Repeat that.
Sure. What do you think the role of the modern public library is, and are they fulfilling that role to your satisfaction? If not, what would you change?
Okay.
Thank you. I believe the role of the public library is for one of education. It's to give students that may not have access to internet a place to go. I believe that it is a center of a community. Every community does need a library. I think they are fulfilling that. When I see drag queens in a library, I get upset. I don't feel that that is the place or the time to introduce anything like that into a library. And so that is something that I would change. Libraries are a place to be educated and to be revered as a place of study, not a place to indoctrinate children.
Thank you for the question. I think libraries are a place for us to learn. They're a place to save kids to get some peace and quiet, to get access to internet, to have opportunities to collaborate with other students. I think we need to be sure to have great technology as the world grows into modernization. We need to be sure we have great technology. I think having great STEM programs. As the Noble Library, they have some really cool extra programs that they do with community engagement with the T-shirt monogramming and things like that, which is really neat. I spent some time over there looking at that, so and the 3D drawings and things like that. So I'm really impressed with Noble Libraries and what you guys have done. But it's a safe place where kids can collaborate and hopefully continue to read actual books. I think that's important as well. So thank you.
Well, I'm going to take that a little bit different because I just had an eye-opener. I was sitting with a mother who was a school teacher in Norman. Very conservative lady, just a sweet lady, bright lady, but conservative as all get out. And she told me she would wish that her kids would go to the library and check out genderqueer. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she said, yeah, because what's going on in the classroom is the problem. That the real pornography of hardcore pornography on electronic devices every day. She told me horror stories of what's going on in the classroom and that nobody's going and using the library. So what is the intent of the library? And I get it that the school shouldn't be putting bad books in the library. I get that. But our bigger problem is not going on in the library, and we're making all this noise on the news and the media and everything about the library. when we got the real problem happening in the classroom. And I'd say we go to work there, and I'll help you on your library too. Thank you.
For me, libraries are, I'm not going to mince words, they're becoming antiquated a little bit with the technology that we have, the space to store books. I know that everybody might want to have a book, but when we have monstrosities like we have in Norman that they spent $45 million on or some ridiculous amount, whatever it was, it looks like a scene from The Walking Dead by the way that they have the nature. It is a monstrosity in Norman filled with black mold. If we're going to have libraries, we definitely want to have access for our public to have knowledge and to be educated and to have access to the internet. I do believe that that is a space that should be provided publicly. But we have to do it smart when it comes to taxpayer dollars. And I know in Norman, we went way out the window with any common sense when it came to libraries. And they are just a waste of taxpayer dollars at this point when it could be much more consolidated, streamlined, and provide actual knowledge to the people.
For me, I don't think the role of the modern library has changed any in the last 20, 30 years. The library is a place where you can go to learn something, relax, unwind, and just open your mind to whatever experiences that you want to at that point in time. You don't read science fiction to learn things. You read it to just get away for a little bit with no expectation of spending money. And it's really one of the last places where there is no expectations of spending money. And so to that end, I personally love our local libraries, aside from the mold. But we used to take our son there quite often. They would have these little just classes, and it would be a lot of fun and a place where he can just engage and learn little things here and there and just get a little bit of socialization. And it was all free, and it should be like that. There should be places in our society where they're free and you can just go and hang out.
Okay, our next question.
Simpson. Hello. Okay. My name is Cindy Simpson. My question has two parts. How do you plan on communicating with your constituents and assessing their needs and desires on issues and legislation? Which constituents will have a say in your votes on bills?
Okay. I might have you repeat that second part.
Okay, the second part is which constituents will have a say in your votes on bills?
Okay, I'll answer the first part and the second part. I see, I grew up in a small town, so we maintained a lot of time in the community, visiting with each other, coffee shops, local drive-ins, things like that. I would want to maintain that. I'd want to continue. I'd love to host, like I said earlier, quarterly or monthly town halls to where, if I needed to get a strong talking to from the constituents, I would want to show up and hear that and talk through the issues that you guys are seeing. Because the 23rd and Lincoln is a long ways away from Noble. It's a long ways away from everyday life. And a lot of times you get caught up in the riffraff of what goes on up there. And it's actually a breath of fresh air to get out and visit with the community versus a lot of other lobbyists or politicians that are up there. So I would love to maintain a constant communication with the community. And as far as the constituents, to me, every constituent is important. And I would want to listen to every constituent's concerns and see if there's a pathway that we can work through. Even if we disagree at the time, there might be something I can learn that can help me get an understanding.
Okay, we're gonna have to move on to the next candidate. All right.
Cindy, I appreciate your question because that's one of the most valid things that just chaps my hide with the way we do politics here. We elect somebody and they go to the Capitol and they just shine us on. The number of times I've sat in leaders' offices and superintendents' offices that said that they'd called their senator or their House rep and they didn't get nothing but blowback, okay? I'll be the first senator in the state of Oklahoma to do this. This is a plan I've had from day one, that there's 17 committees up at the Capitol, and in those 17 committees, the way this works, I'll expedite because you need to get the last part. We can talk later. But I will look for subject matter experts in each one of those committees. This young lady right here who has a Down syndrome daughter, and in her path, she is a subject matter expert. And so the moment bills are coming into committee, not when they're on the floor, when I've got to make a decision, during committee, these subject matter experts will be broken out into multiple, all throughout our district, and they will all have input into how I will look and vote for our district. I don't represent Oklahoma. I represent the district first, then Oklahoma. Thank you.
Well, communicating with constituents, I've done that in the past. I've done it through social media. I put out my personal cell phone number. I have my office number. I have no doubt if you put me up there, I'll have email and phone and an assistant to help with all that and to be able to get back with them. I was very responsive when I was in Norman. Even to the people that weren't the nicest to me with their messages, I would still return and say, hey, thank you for your input, whatnot like that. And if you have something going on, social media is a good place to put out information. If you can't get people to sign up and follow you, it's a lot of it is up to the voters how much they want to engage with their representation. And when it comes to constituents, which one I listen to, I'll listen to any of them that are willing to speak up. I've got ears on for everybody. I've done it, believe me. I've been in this position where I've had to listen to people that vehemently opposed me if they just downright didn't like me, and then we were able to get good things done anyhow.
I would use every electronic means possible to communicate with all the constituents. I don't care if you want to get a hold of me, social media, text, email, call me, visit me at the office, or whatever you want to do. If you want to meet in person, I will do that. Also, I would like to see at least quarterly town halls for people that in your district. And then which ones would matter to me? How would I decide that? Everybody. I have my views on everything that you can think of. We all do. But it doesn't matter to me what your views are, because I will sit there and listen to you, and we will debate this over a cup of coffee or a Rockstar. I don't drink coffee. Just however you want. I will listen to you. I promise that. I learned how to do that in college, and we would just go through the night debating things back and forth, picking sides, whatever, didn't matter. And I will do that with anybody and everybody that wants to. I kind of like doing that. It's fun to me. So however you want to communicate with me, I will make that effort to communicate back with you.
Well, I think my background in pharmacy helps me communicate with a lot of people. I enjoy talking with people. And if there was someone that wanted to seek me out, then definitely I'm easy to find. My phone number is on my push cards, my website, everything. If I'm elected at the Capitol, I'll have a helper to help me get back in contact with those that want to talk with me. Contrary to popular belief, I don't know everything. And so I know that there are two sides to every story. So no matter if we're polar opposite, you can count on me to listen to that other side and take that into consideration. That's my job as a senator. And you can always count that I will advocate always for the taxpayer and for the good of the state of Oklahoma.
My name is Sarah Sewell. I'm a constituent, and as Mr. Keys pointed out, I'm also a mother to a child with special needs, and I serve as the executive director for the Down Syndrome Association here in our state. This question has two parts. Are you willing to work with other state elected officials, not just on the Republican side of the aisle, and see issues from their perspective? There are independents and Democrats in your district. How can they know that if elected, you are representing them as well?
Sorry about that. Ultimately, that's a pretty easy one. I've had to work in the nation's capital, and I carry the water for water, okay, up there. And you know how split that is up there. And I've had to stay very neutral. I've had to work. I actually had the fortune of having a junior member of the House of Representatives carry a bill for us that was a Democrat up there. When you stick to the basics and you listen and have the decency to listen to people, you're going to find that their differences are not that far apart. We can disagree, but we don't have to be disagreeable in the situation. We need to be human to each other and respectful. I don't have a problem listening to anybody and then finding solutions that work for everybody. That's, the way I would handle that. Not a problem on my side.
I would like to say that I've already done this. If you ask if I'm willing to do this, I've already been there and done this. When I was on the city council, I had to work with our state representatives. I had to work with our federal representatives. I had to work with people on the opposite side of me that were completely opposite of me, and I was still able to convince them to come to our side and do the right thing. That's the type of leadership that I bring. When these people that are totally polar opposite of me, I can still convince them, hey, this is the right thing to do. Let's get on board and take care of the people. I've been there and I've done that. Like I said, when it comes to this, I've done this work. We have accomplished a whole lot of great things in Norman, and that was with 50% or more than 50%, 75% of the council against me. And we still worked together to do the right thing for the folks of Norman.
Over the last 2 years, as I said, I've spent at least a day a week up at the Capitol during session, working with legislators on both sides of the aisle. I don't care if you have a D next to your name, an R, an L, or an I. We have common ground that I'm sure we can find, and we will work to make our goals happen. Everybody has their goals, and I'm positive, I've proven at this point that I can find the common ground and we can work to achieve those said goals. Just this last session, I am obviously a Republican. I actually asked my Democratic representative, because she is my representative, to write a bill for me, which actually spent my time up there this last session getting it passed into a law. And so that required me to work with both Democrats and Republicans a lot. And so to that end, I found they're just people like you and I, and I don't care what you have next to your name. We're all up there for a common goal, and that's just to make Oklahoma better for everybody else.
Absolutely. I'm willing to work with anybody that's been elected. They represent a portion of people that have wonderful ideas, and that's their job, is to represent them. So, of course, you have to. I had an incident with a gentleman who was knocking his door, and he said, "Are you willing to compromise? Are you willing to compromise?" And I think what he was getting at was the fact that some legislators do not. And I will never compromise on my beliefs and my values. I will never compromise on that. I will listen to other points of view, but I will never compromise on that. I can be civil, I can disagree. I'm a mom of 3. I see the insides of a lot of arguments and I settle them. So you can count on me to be kind and to listen. And I will work together if those values line with mine.
I look forward to working with everybody, both sides. There's a lot of sharp people up there, and I will engage anybody that's working on the same path I am. I have no problem with having discussions and working through issues with constituents. I am open ears to listen and to all concerns as far as if I disagree, but if it means the constituents agree on it, then I'll definitely listen, and we'll take a wholeheartedly look at if it's the best option for me.
So this is a party primary. Many of your voters and the fellow candidates share similar views. again, because it's a party primary. So why should voters choose you?
I believe that I'm the candidate that Senate District 15 should choose because I'm a leader. I've been through the ups and downs of life. I was paralyzed in 2021 and recovered and stood up. Built 10 different businesses. I love building businesses. I love to see our state be successful. I've got a 4-year-old, and the battles that I refuse to fight now, she's going to have to fight 10 years from now. And it's too important for me, and it's too important for our state. I'm young, I'm ready to fight, and I'm ready to make sure that our kids grow up and have opportunities to be successful. Thank you.
Well, I'm honored just to be here and to have this opportunity. But the reason I think that I should be the one elected is when you look at my history over the past 40 years. I've been through some tough times. I know what it's like to be in the trenches, but I know what it's like to start from scratch with nothing and build something big and build it so big that it employs multiple people and have one of the best benefit programs here. Let me ask everybody in the room, how many of you, your employer covers all of your family's health insurance, all but $10 per person in the plan? How many of you have a matching retirement program that matches out? You know, when you look at from the industry that I started in and what I've built, that alone, coupled with what I've done in our nation's capital and our state's capital with legislation, I'm the only one with the proper experience. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you having me tonight. I can say nothing bad about any of the folks up here. Even if I could, I wouldn't. But what I can do is contrast. I will humbly say I am the subject matter expert on leadership up here. The state of Oklahoma has said that as well when I've commissioned our future leaders here in Oklahoma and around the nation. I am the guy with a demonstrated record. I have 130,000 people just north of here in Norman, Oklahoma that we drastically changed their lives. That was big work. I did that at the expense of $250,000 my own money, working 40 hours a week on a $100 a month job to deliver results to the folks of Norman. I have lived it, breathed it, and lived selfless sacrifice my entire life. When it came to being conservative, I'm the most conservative up here. When we had votes in Norman, even with my Republican counterparts that we got elected to help change the course of Norman, they felt like cogs into the wheel, and I was the lone conservative vote so many times, like the big hunk of stinky cheese. I'll stick to my principles and my guns every single time and serve you well.
All right, well, we would like to thank everybody for attending this evening, and as a reminder, within a couple of days, you'll be able to view this forum online through our website. We encourage you all to stick around and chat with the candidates and ask any questions that you may have, and on behalf of the Noble Public Schools Foundation and the Noble Public Library, we thank you for attending.